Eldrad Ulthran, also known as the Pathfinder, the Seeker, and the True Guide, is the former High Farseer of the Eldari Craftworld of Ulthwé. Eldrad is one of the most powerful psychers within the entire galaxy, being particularly skilled in the arts of divination and precognition. Indeed, it was thanks to his ability to navigate the twisting paths of fate that the Farseer was able to avert disaster not just for his Craftworld, but the entire Eldari race on numerous occasions. Not only did Eldrad succeed in thwarting the machinations of several Necron dynasties, but he also prevented Craftworld Simhan from succumbing to a Hrud infestation, and even ensured the rise of one Orc warlord over another, in order to spare the Craftworlds from a future green-skinned assault. This latter instance, however, would prove disastrous for the Imperium of Man, for while Eldrad had saved the lives of countless Eldari, his actions ultimately led to the ascension of one of the greatest and most infamous warlords in Orcish history, Ghazghkull Thraka. The Imperial world of Armageddon would bear the full brunt of Wa Ghazghkull, with neither the humans nor the Orcs realizing that Eldrad was the one responsible for setting such events in motion. Not only this, but the Farseer also attempted to bring about the awakening of Inniad, the Eldari god of the dead, by conducting an unsanctioned ritual upon the psychically conductive mood of Koharia. While this ritual would ultimately end in failure due to the intervention of the Death Watch, Eldrad's efforts did result in the nascent god beginning to stir from its slumber. This in turn would eventually lead to the rise of the religious sect known as the ynnari, who would go on to unleash the power of Inniad in order to purge Craftworld Bael'tan of demonic contamination, though at the cost of Bael'tan itself being shattered. While Eldrad, who had foreseen the sundering of Bael'tan, was able to open a portal to safely retrieve the ynnari, an act which resulted in the death of 3 of his Craftworld's greatest seers, this, in conjunction with his actions upon Koharia, resulted in him being banished from Ulthwé. The Farseer would then ally himself with the ynnari, becoming an advisor of sorts to their High Priestess Yvraine, only to grow increasingly disillusioned with their nihilism and callous disregard for the lives of other Eldari in the pursuit of their goal. Eldrad would eventually abandon the ynnari cause entirely, and instead made his return to Ulthwé in hopes of seeking forgiveness from his people, which the Craftworld Seer Council would grant him, albeit reluctantly. While Eldrad is undoubtedly a formidable asset for the Eldari race as a whole, both on and off the battlefield, the Farseer's body is slowly beginning to ossify and crystallize, signaling that he is approaching the end of his long life. Indeed, Eldrad has lived for well over 10,000 years, making him quite possibly the oldest living member of his entire species. And yet, despite his advanced age, Eldrad continues to fight on for the sake of his people, for he has come to learn over his many millennia of experience that lesser races, such as humanity, cannot be relied upon to stem the ever-increasing tide of chaos, and that in order for the Eldari to weather the storm that threatens to consume all existence, he must continue to guide them along the right path. But is Eldrad's incredible longevity simply due to his alien biology, or has the Farseer been able to extend his lifespan through other means? It's well known that the Eldari are amongst the longest-lived races within the entire galaxy, with their highly advanced and efficient physiologies allowing them to live thousands of years. According to the novel Ghost Warrior, the events of the Fall, which saw the collapse of the ancient Eldari Dominion, occurred a mere 5 generations ago. Because the events of the novel take place 10,000 or so years after the Fall, this in turn would mean that the length of a single generation to the Eldari, and by extension their minimum projected lifespan, would be approximately 2,000 years. By contrast, a single generation for humanity is a mere 25 years. Seeing as how the average human lifespan is roughly 75 years, the length of 3 entire generations, if the same logic also applies to the Eldari and that their projected lifespan is the length of 3 generations, it's reasonable to assume that a typical Eldari would live to around 6,000 years on average before succumbing to the effects of old age. But even if the average lifespan of an Eldari is approximately 6,000 years, it's still perfectly reasonable to assume that certain individuals, such as Eldrad, can live for far longer than this, due to variables such as genetics, diet, environmental factors, and so on. Indeed, Eldrad's diet may very well play an important role in this regard, for as detailed with the novel Fulgrim, Eldrad Ulthran is shown to be, or is at least heavily implied to be, a vegetarian, as shown with the following quote.
I do not eat meat, Captain Demeter. It is too rich for my palate. But you should try some. I am told it is very good.
Seeing as how humans who live a vegetarian lifestyle can potentially live 10 to 15% longer than non-vegetarians, it's entirely possible that a vegetarian diet for an Eldari could extend their projected lifespan by at least a few centuries. In regards to environmental factors, Eldrad's lifespan could have drastically increased due to his frequent use of the webway. Aside from allowing the Eldari to traverse the vast expanse of the galaxy at what are effectively faster than light speeds, the subspace network of the webway also generates a unique type of radiation that first stalls that eventually reverses the aging process of those who use it. This is most notably demonstrated within the novel Atlas Infernal, as the human Inquisitor Bronislaw Czevak, after entering the webway as a frail old man and spending several years within the fabled Black Library, would re-emerge back into real space with his body having been restored to its physical prime. Indeed, Czevak, who is one of the Imperium's foremost experts on the Eldari, believes that his rejuvenation came about due to his prolonged exposure to the energies of the webway, as shown with the following quote.
The Eldar, to be sure, are a long-lived race. This longevity is only partially determined by their biology. I don't pretend to fully understand it, but the trans-dimensional travel that dominates their faster-than-light movements across the galaxy seems to have a regressional effect on their cellular senescence.
As such, it seems fairly logical to assume that Eldrad's various and repeated excursions through the webway, and by extension the cumulative exposure to its energies, have greatly contributed towards the Farseer's incredible longevity. Another possibility is that Eldrad's life has been prolonged via the use of Biomancy. Biomancy is the catch-all term used to describe those psychic abilities that are used to manipulate biological matter, energies, and processes, either for the purpose of altering one's physical form or to administer an internal effect on a cellular level. Indeed, not only are biomancers capable of rendering one's flesh harder than steel, but they can also heal the sick and injured through touch, and even unleash devastating blasts of bioelectricity from their hands. Because biomancy can be used for the purposes of healing and cellular regeneration, it's possible that Eldrad is utilizing this particular psychic discipline in order to extend his lifespan. But while Eldrad is indeed an incredibly powerful psyker, his talents, as mentioned earlier, are focused primarily in the arts of divination and precognition, as opposed to biomancy, and as such, there's no guarantee that Eldrad is capable of manipulating his own biology. That being said, however, Eldrad has been known to manifest abilities that are tied to other psychic disciplines, such as telepathy and telekinesis, meaning that while he may not be as experienced as a pure biomancer in this regard, he may still be skilled enough to, at least temporarily, stall or even partially reverse any cellular degradation caused by the aging process. Regardless, while he has lived for far longer than almost any other Eldari, the urge for Eldrad to join his ancestors within Ulthwé's force of crystal seers grows stronger with each passing year, meaning that it is only a matter of time before the Farseer sheds his mortal body and allows his soul to join with the Craftworld's Infinity Circuit, where he may finally achieve the peace that he has so rightfully earned. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.